You are 22 years old, and you smell like fryer oil even on your days off. The job at the casino buffet pays $11.40 an hour, and the floor managers know your name only because you refill the crab legs too slow during peak hours. You watch the players from behind the sneeze guard. Not the cards, not the chips, the players. You see the man in the salmon shirt squeeze his wife's hand before every bet. You see the woman at the penny slots who orders the same Diet Coke every 40 minutes, so the waitress keeps coming back and she doesn't have to feel alone. You see the architecture of need in every face, and you understand the way you understand nothing else in your life. You studied 2 years of behavioral psychology at the community college before the financial aid ran out, and you had to choose between tuition and keeping your mother's lights on. You chose the lights. The knowledge stayed. The casino keeps its winners. You watch them celebrate, and you carry the empty glasses away, and nobody at that table looks at you. Not once. You are the hand that removes the evidence of their thirst. Nothing more. On the bus home, a notification crosses your screen. A poker analytics startup is looking for beta testers. No experience required, just pattern recognition. You stare at the words until your stop almost passes. You already know every pattern in that building. You just never got paid for it. Level 1, the read you don't cheat. Not yet. You build a spreadsheet. Publicly available hand histories from online poker forums. 10,000 of them. Cross-reference with bet sizing tells you catalog from 8 months of watching real players behind a sneeze guard. You create a model that predicts fold probability with 71% accuracy on a specific player profile. Mid-stakes recreational, male, 40 to 55, plays tighter after a bad beat, loosens after complimentary alcohol. You post the model anonymously in a strategy forum. Within 48 hours, a private message arrives from a username with no post history. He wants to license the model for $800. You don't know what licensing means legally. You say yes anyway. $800 lands in your PayPal at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday. You made more in one transaction than in 3 weeks of crab legs. You lie in bed with the screen brightness all the way down and run the number against your hourly rate until the math starts to feel like a new language and you realize you've been speaking the wrong one your entire life. You give your 2 weeks notice. The floor manager doesn't look up from his clipboard. Level 2. The session his name in the system is Doug V. 1967. He's been playing the same mid-stakes online tables for 4 years. His session notes, compiled from public hand histories, show that he plays every Friday night between 9 p.m. and 1 a.m., almost certainly after dinner, almost certainly after 2 drinks. His leak is specific. He cannot fold top pair on a wet board when he's down more than 3 buy-ins. He's chasing. He's always chasing. His profile photo, visible on a poker forum, shows a man in a fishing hat holding a small bass with both hands, grinning like it's the best thing that happened all week. You build a bot, not a playing bot, a behavioral mirror. It identifies Doug V. 1967 session state in real time and adjusts bet sizing to maximize the specific cognitive bias that makes him call when he should fold. It doesn't cheat the cards. It cheats the man reading the cards. On the first Friday it runs, Doug V. 1967 loses $2,300 in 4 hours. You're cut through the arrangement, $340. If you made it this far, you already know this video is different. Drop a comment with the city you're watching from and share this with one person who thinks they understand how money actually moves. Subscribe if you want to see where this goes. You take the $340 and buy your mother a space heater she's needed since October. She asks where the money came from. You say a consulting project. She says you were always the smart one. You don't sleep that night, but it isn't guilt keeping you up. It's the model. You already see 3 ways to make it faster. Level 3. The network you stopped working alone somewhere around month 4. The operation requires infrastructure you can't build solo. Clean accounts, processing layers, someone who knows how to move money through payment rails that don't ask questions. Marcus handles account creation. 34. Former identity verification contractor, was laid off when the company automated his entire department and considers this a lateral move. He doesn't talk about what he does. He talks about his daughter's soccer schedule, and you nod and pay him on time. Priya writes code faster than you, and asks fewer questions than anyone you've ever met. She takes her cut in crypto and spends it on things you never ask about. She once fixed a critical bug at 3 a.m. without being asked and sent a single message afterward. Patched. That's it. That's the whole relationship. The third person doesn't have a name you use out loud. He runs a registered financial services LLC in Delaware that your money passes through on its way becoming income from data consulting. He charges 18% and wears the same blue blazer every time you meet. You move out of your mother's apartment on a Tuesday. You tell her it's a good thing. She stands in the doorway of the place you both shared for 6 years and holds her own elbows and says nothing. The Uber is already waiting. You get in. Level 4. The architect, you are not a poker operation anymore. That framing is too small for what exists now. You have expanded into sports prediction markets, fantasy platform manipulation, and majority stake in a legitimate-looking analytics firm that serves as the public face of everything. Venture capital people have emailed you. You took 3 meetings in a WeWork conference room and left with $400,000 in seed funding from people who believe the future is behavioral data. They are not wrong. They just don't know which behaviors are being studied. At the second investor dinner, a man in his 50s who sold a logistics company for $11 million leans across the table and says you remind him of himself at your age. Hungry, clear-eyed, willing to do what others won't. You smile and refill his wine. You are the house now. You are the architecture that takes Doug's money and routes it through Marcus's accounts and Priya's code and the Delaware LLC and arrives at a dinner table where a man who sold a logistics company calls you hungry and means it as a compliment. You built the system that the man in the salmon shirt was always losing to. You just moved to the other side of the sneeze guard. Level 5. The scale individual players were never the ceiling. You understood this before you admitted it. The ceiling is a market itself. The millions of recreational bettors who consume sports prediction content as entertainment, who follow algorithmic tip accounts on social media, who believe that pattern recognition is democratized and available to everyone if you just find the right subscription. You build the subscription. $40 a month, 200,000 subscribers at peak, a Substack and a podcast, and 3 former college athletes who serve as the public face of pics you generate from models they've never seen and couldn't read. The pics are real. The edge is real. What the subscribers don't know is that the edge is generated by the same behavioral exploitation architecture you've been building for 2 years, and that a portion of your model's accuracy comes from information asymmetries that are not publicly available. This is not explained in the terms of service. The terms of service were written by a lawyer who charged $4,000 and asked no follow-up questions. The first month of subscription crosses $8 million in annual recurring revenue. You are on a flight to meet a potential acquirer, and the man next to you is reading one of your tip newsletters on his phone. He doesn't know you exist. You order the same drink as him just to feel something, and it doesn't work. Level 6. The inventory of the apartment is on the 34th floor. The windows are floor to ceiling and bulletproof, which is a feature the real estate agent mentioned twice, and you didn't react to either time, because reacting would have confirmed something you weren't ready to confirm. You have 4 phones. Each has a specific purpose. You know which one is ringing before you look by the vibration pattern you trained yourself to recognize in the first 3 months, after you realized that not knowing which world was calling first was costing you response time. You have not been to a casino buffet since you quit. You have been to casinos 11 times for business. Each time you walk past the buffet stations, you don't look at the staff. You notice yourself not looking. You don't adjust. You sleep 4 hours on good nights. The rest of the time you are horizontal but running probability tree for variables that have no resolution at 3 a.m. Priya's silence on a thread, a regulatory inquiry that arrived last week in language that seemed routine but wasn't, the Delaware LLC's annual filing that the man in the blue blazer says is fine, and that you pulled yourself to verify, and that is technically fine. The subscription revenue notification arrives every morning at 6 a.m. You read it and feel the number, and then feel nothing about the number. The number is just distance between where you are and where they can reach you. You are not sure anymore who they are. That's the part that doesn't resolve at 3 a.m. Level 7. The reckoning, it is 5:51 a.m. on a Thursday in November when the door comes off its frame. You are not asleep. You are in the kitchen running the probability tree again, standing in socks on cold tile with the fourth phone in your hand. When the sound arrives, not a knock, not a warning, a physical rearrangement of the space where your front door used to be, then voices that are not asking anything, then light from sources you didn't install. Your hands are on the counter before you decide to put them there. The body already knew. The body has known for longer than you admitted. They move through the apartment with fluency that tells you they have been here before. Not physically, but architecturally. They know the floor plan. They know the server locations. They know about the Delaware LLC, and they know about Marcus, and they know about the accounts Priya thought were clean, and they have a name for the man in the blue blazer. That is not the name on his blazer. They walk you through the hallway, and you pass the mirror by the elevator, and you see a 22-year-old in socks who smells like he hasn't slept and is holding his own wrist together from muscle memory before the cuffs arrive. Not the analyst, not the architect, not the man the investor called hungry and meant as a compliment. The kid who read people from behind the sneeze guard, who chose his mother's electricity over his own education, who got on a bus and saw a notification, and understood it the way he understood nothing else. He never left. You just built the house on top of him. The house is still standing.